There are two ways of bringing out the strength of a beautiful Jewish neshama. One is a boy, had a charmed life, very smart, loved to sit and learn, got married, he's learning in Kollel for 10 years and being supported by his in-laws and his parents. Wow, that shows the koyach of a neshama. And he doesn't miss minyan, and he sits and learns Ba'asmada. Unbelievable. There's another way to see the Kvod Shemayim. You take a kid, and 8 years old, Nabuchi went through terrible trauma, and it killed him, and it hit him with depression and anxiety. And at 13 years old, he went nuts, and then at 15 years old, he was acting like a crazy person. And at 17 years old, he was on drugs, and he wasn't frum, and he ate on Yom Kippur, and he didn't put on tefillin, and he was in tremendous pain, and he was like in a war with Hashem, and he would curse God, right? And then at 22 years old, or whenever it is, he went ahead and he put on tefillin. Or he did a mitzvah, or he said a bracha, or he did a chesed. That's also a proof of the fact that the neshama will not get extinguished. The stories that I have, that I've seen, I opened Home Sweet Home not knowing about this. I also thought these are the bums, I just figured, let me try to help them. But the bums, the lowlifes, Balei Taiva, I keep on doing this, it's not bunny rabbit ears. All these quotes, shkutzim, mishaguim, crazy people, drug addicts, they were all gambling addicts, these addicts, that addicts. Some of them told me they're gay, some of them told me all kinds of stuff, that most of them were molested at the end. I didn't even know what this was. Many of them were active with the other. These were officially the group of the lowest Jews, right? And then one by one, they proved to me how strong their neshama was when they were nurtured properly, when they were given oxygen of ava and chaim, of warmth and love, and I respect you, and I don't look down at you, and I don't judge you. And then one by one, this story is for each one of them. And most of them graduated from. So how did they change? And even just the first time they put on tefillin, or when they wanted to, we look at it like, well, of course you put on tefillin. So no, once you don't, doing something that you don't do is just as hard as us doing something that we don't do. It's just as hard as anybody deciding to go on a diet. It's just as hard as anybody deciding to learn an extra half hour a day. It's just as hard. Pick anything you want. It's super hard. They weren't doing it. All of a sudden they're doing it. And all of a sudden they're telling me, I feel so connected to Hashem. And I start realizing that they, who we thought that their spiritual antennas were weak or broken, their spiritual antennas are very strong. That they feel things that I'm so embarrassed, I never felt. They feel when they put on tefillin. They would tell me, all these rough, tough guys, some of them with tattoos, some of them psych wards, some of them with history of drugs, some of them all eating on Yom Kippur. And each one of them would put on tefillin. I have pictures of them. And not because about the tefillin. They were proud of it. I'm not a Kiruv center. They wanted to. They know what to do when they feel good. We just gave them the medicine. You see somebody and they're lying in bed and they don't put on tefillin. Oy vey, you have to go put tefillin on them and tell them the importance of tefillin. No, they're too weak. Give them vitamins, give them medicine, get them to be healthy, and then boom, they're going to put on tefillin. That's what happened to those kids. We never spoke about tefillin, never told them about the importance of tefillin. I am not Chabad, so I'm not allowed to encroach on Chabad territory. So I couldn't ask them to put on tefillin. I couldn't offer them food because that's Satmar, Bikur Cholim territory, right? So I just was nice to them, and I had a program for them, but they showed me that they have a neshama that is stronger than my neshama. That I hope that I would get to there, but I don't know that I can. Mi yoimar, who could say that if you went through what they went through, that you would do what they do? So I am very clear that I could understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is showing off. He's showing off to the angels, to the Pamai Shamala, look what I can do to a Jew. Yeah, there are tzaddikim that I can punch them and kill them and kick them and they're not going to waver. That's unbelievable. And then there are kids, really, who get crumble. They crumble, and they fall, and they break everything, and they want to break themselves, and they want to burn down the community, and they want to Rachmana litzlan burn down Torah and kedusha. I've seen them cursing Hashem, b'peh malei, with all the words, cursing God, and I'm sitting there. What am I supposed to do? And then, mamash, Shema Malchus, the whole thing. And then a couple of months later, the kid's putting on tefillin, keeping Shabbos, tzitzis. So, what does that mean? It's like Hashem wants to reveal to us the koyach of a neshama, that even if they're broken, no matter what they're cursing, he was an atheist. He was anti. He was cursing. He called you Nebuch, called you Nazi, and he called you Tati. He called you Hitler. Well, at least he gave you a more bakovidik title than Stam a Nazi. You're the boss. And now he calls you just to say hi. He would never call you such a thing. When they're so broken, everything falls apart, everything shatters, and then they do a mitzvah. They do a chesed for sure. They care about and everybody in need. But Hashem is showing us something, there's some kind of a carbon, some kind of a sacrifice that Hashem is getting from these neshamas when they are treated properly. If you go over to them and you kick them in the face, of course they're not going to get better. What does kicking them in the face mean? It could just be looking at them cross. Just looking at them. You're a loser. They go crazy from that. I had a kip, a friend of mine, who went to a wedding, and he was not dressed like, they don't dress, they don't conform, but he got himself to go, a kid with social anxiety, a kid who was nebuch. If they would know how much sexual abuse he went through as a child, the fact that he decided, I'm going to a cousin's wedding, covered up his tattoos with a shirt. He even, the shirt was he looked different, but maybe he looked like one of the waiters, but he didn't come in a bathing suit, and he wasn't trying to hurt anybody. Right? And a guy came over to him, and it doesn't matter what he said. Doesn't matter what he said. But he said. Doesn't matter what the words were. He didn't say, I love you. He didn't say, I'm so happy to see you. He didn't say, wow, you're alive. I haven't seen you in a long time. How are you? No. He said what he said. Something negative. Negative enough, and it wasn't that bad, but it was negative, that this neshama, who is so fragile, went to the car and almost killed himself and had to call Hatzalah. And we have that story that I showed you in the training with this boy in Israel. You see him, a sweet boy, and he went to a family wedding, a family simcha. Someone in the family went over to him and said, "Die belongs nicht du, you don't belong here." He didn't come dressed, and he wasn't behaving properly. He didn't come dressed properly. Die belongs nicht du, you don't belong here. That's all he said. And 10 minutes later, he hung himself. And this kid's life was cut short for no reason. Because somebody, and I'm sure that guy did not want to kill him. I'm sure he's not a murderer. He thought, this is what you have to do. It's not a Hefgewalt. How's he going to know? We got to tell him. No, this is not acceptable. You're doing it. All kinds of things, why he's doing it and what he's doing it, and all kinds of explanations to prove that he's a manipulator and he's a liar and he's attention seeking and we're not going to let you do this and the world doesn't revolve around you and you're causing everybody blah, 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 blah. He killed him. And all he had to do is give the medicine. Baal Shem Tov said what the medicine is. The Litvische Welt, the Chazon Ish said, and all the Maramakaim say, love. No, I'm going to be smarter. I'm going to be merachik. I'm going to reject. And then the guy is Nebuch. I don't know how he could ever, what kind of mechila is there? How could he apologize? He could apologize for killing him. How could he apologize to that guy's children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren that would have come out of him? He cut off a whole thing because he thought that when the Baal Shem Tov said to give love, what does he know? I know better. When the Chazon Ish said to give love, when the Lubavitcher Rebbe said to give love, when the Nesiv Shalom said to give love, when the Rebbe Vadia Yosef said to give love, I have 6,000 stories. So you tell me where you're from, you give me the address, I'll put it into Google Maps, and I will find a rabbi from the town of your great-grandparents that said give love. Nobody says to reject or to look down or to push away. And it's so easy. Why can't we just make believe like we're from out of town and be nice? It's the whole program is just make believe like we're from Chicago. Just say, nice to see you. Is that so hard? Nice to see you. Stop looking at what they're not doing. And you want to be helpful? Invite them for a meal. This is what we did at Home Sweet Home. This is what TP parents are doing. And then a year later, 2 years later, eventually, with God's help, you'll get the best out of the situation. They're going to become from tomorrow? I don't know. First of all, at least you're becoming from by doing that, by doing Ratzon Hashem. So I think that Hashem is bringing out how the strength, the veracity of a neshama by showing you in our dar, these neshamas that break, crack completely, and they don't give up. All of them will do something that if it was anything else, if you were a Yankee fan and the Yankees did to you and you broke up, you would never go and do a favor for the Yankees. There's something in the neshama, they will always do something for Hashem. But we have to do also our part, and that's what Hashem is demanding of us, putting us in a situation. Nesiv Shalom says that just like it says Chanoich Lenar Al Pi Darkoi, just like you have to have education for every single individual child, he says also Chanoich Ledar Al Pi Darkoi. Every generation has its own chinuch.